Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Today we have with us a very beautiful book that we're going to talk about, An-Naba'ul Azim, the eternal challenge or an eternal challenge regarding the Quran by Muhammad ibn Abdullah ad-Daraz. Before we jump into the book, let's talk a little bit about the author. Dr. Muhammad Abdullah ad-Daraz was an Azhari scholar from Egypt who later studied in France at the Paris Sorbonne University doing his PhD. And when he traveled from Al-Azhar, his place of study as a Muslim scholar, to the West, to France to study, he confronted other ideas and philosophies that were foreign to Islam, and actually the Orientalists who didn't like Islam very much, and specifically who are not very fond of the Quran. And so once he had this experience, Muhammad Abdullah ad-Daraz began to author very many books specifically defending the Quran and proving its miraculous nature to Muslims and non-Muslims alike. In this book that we have with us today, An-Naba'ul Azim, an eternal challenge, Muhammad Abdullah ad-Daraz proves conclusively and completely without a doubt that the Quran could only have been a miraculous revelation from a creator. He starts by asking the question, and not purely from the linguistic side, by asking the question that why did Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam come with this book and where did it come from? What were the possibilities? Could he have learned it from somebody else? Could he have come up with it from himself? Or could it have been a revelation from a creator? And he goes to each of these possibilities and he leaves you with absolutely no doubt about the source of the Quran. The unique thing about this book, when I compare it with other literature on I'jazul Quran or the miraculous nature of the Quran, is that Dr. Daraz, he doesn't just discuss the linguistic aspect of the Quran, but he talks about the context of revelation. How the Prophet ﷺ would react to revelation, how he would experience revelation, how revelation would come to him when he was in the heat of war or in the comfort of his home. How revelation would sometimes scold or chastise the Prophet ﷺ. And so looking at the holistic nature of revelation from all its angles, he really proves to a Muslim and non-Muslim alike that this Quran could only be from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why is this book very important to me personally? We all believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as Muslims and we all have faith. However, there are times when you seek understanding, you seek further certainty. Ibrahim alayhi salam, he asks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Rabbi arini kayfa tuhyi al-mawta, oh Allah, show me how you revive the dead. And Allah responds, awala tu'min, don't you believe? He says, bala, walakin liyatma'inna qalbi. Of course I believe, but I want further certainty. This is the book that for me personally gave me absolute certainty. As a non-Arabic speaker at the time, gave me certainty that the Quran could only have been from Allah. So it moved from being something I had faith in to something I felt like I knew for certain. And I advise anybody who is a keen reader of the Quran or somebody who's interested in the Quran to read this book. One last interesting point about the author himself, Dr. Daraz. His colleague, Dr. Muhammad Abu Zuhra, tells us that Muhammad Daraz used to read 6 juz of the Quran every day. And the rest of us professors from Al-Azhar would go back to our beds to sleep at night, and Dr. Daraz would go to his tahajjud and his Quran. And perhaps that is the reason why he wrote so beautifully when it came to the Quran. And that is why for me, this book is absolutely a page turner. Jazakumullahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum.